Have announcements to make today, this very special day.
I sure do. Guess what today is? April the 3rd?
April the 3rd is also a Friday. It's considered Good Friday, before Passover and Easter weekend. It just happened to be coincident this time, not necessarily other years. And
which is really cool that Easter and Passover are on the same time, because I'm sure most of our listeners know that Passover is the real date.
And by the way, in Eastern Orthodox, Tim was on because he's Eastern Orthodox now. He's a ex-Roman Catholic.
Yeah.
And he said Holy Week is next week for the Eastern Orthodox. So we can be holy next week too.
You know what? I'm not going to go there. Anyways, the sale's on. Everyone, the sale is on, and already the orders are literally pouring in. La la la. You see Mitzi's going crazy, and Chris and Steve. And anyways, thank you very much for all your support, and enjoy those great prices. And the sale will be from today. I put it on last night. I actually made a mistake on one of them. I won't talk about that. Mitzi says, what is that?
You must have been asleep when you did it, right?
Yeah, it was like 11 o'clock, and I'm like, oh, I can hardly even see. You know me, I go to sleep at 10:30. Anyways, it's all up there now, and it's all correct. And I guess it goes on until midnight on Monday. So if you don't have access to a computer and you like to call in, just call at 888-212-8871 and you can place your order. Hey, Bill.
Absolutely.
We have an announcement.
Yeah, we do. We have a little granddaughter that was born yesterday. I think it was
Matilda was born yesterday at 8:52. Matthew took a picture of her as she came out right at 8:52 and sent it to my phone.
Yeah, it is.
It was just, oh my gosh.
Yeah, she's important at a birthing
beautiful.
center. Yeah, gorgeous little baby.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And, you know, everybody, they do things so different nowadays. I mean, I, of course, with Bill being a medical doctor, I would just walk around the hospital, go up and have the baby. It wasn't quite that simple, though. You know, but she had the baby under the water. You have them in a warm water, like a hot tub type birthing tank. And the baby, I guess, comes out and doesn't even cry and just goes right through the water and comes up with a smile. It's amazing. Matthew got all the pictures anyways. Yeah, so that's so exciting.
It's, in other words, being born is being like going for a snorkel and coming up out of taking your snorkel off and say, hey, I don't need the snorkel anymore.
Haha. The picture, the cord was still attached to everything. Boy, Matthew's just. Anyways, we're going to go up this coming. We'll leave after the show on Friday, and we'll be up this next weekend to visit, and that's going to be so exciting. I'd like to go right now. Actually, run right out the door. I can hardly wait to see her. So, the sale is on. That's exciting. Matilda's here. God bless her little heart. And what else is here, Bill?
Well, it's the weekend that Yeshua Jesus was the Passover lamb, the perfect lamb, the incarnation of the Most High God. And he died, and as I said last night, I did kind of on the Rents Network program, I was on 20 minutes early before hour 2, which I usually am, on the Rents on Thursday nights. I did a summary. I said, Jesus was the soap of God. In other words, without the waters of repentance, both for our personal sins and our corporate sins of our nations and our people and our churches and our legal organizations and medical, we're not going to make a righteous world. It's interesting when Jesus answered the rabbis, he said, is it easier to say, pick up your mat and walk, the guy that was lowered through the roof, or your sins are forgiven you? And I'll make a little play on that. Pick up your NUTRIMEDs and walk.
Oh, gosh. You are like, you can get our NutriMeds into anything, can't you?
Yeah, well, you will. And the thing is with prayer, and God will direct you to the right wellness things to do, and possibly even medical. You mean so that it's appropriate sometimes for people to have surgery or advanced care. But there's also, we try to we call make people doctor you. They have to be an informed consumer of health and wellness care, and it's moving quickly in the 21st century to real health care, not just disease management or polypharmacy care.
I'm amazed when I talk to people I've got something in my throat. You know what? I'm off of bread, as you guys know. I'm trying to get off of bread, but I'm eating those. No, I don't want your water. It looks cookie. I'll have my own. Anyways, and I'm trying to eat these stupid sesame crackers. You know, those rice crackers? And there's sesame seeds. They get stuck in your mouth and your throat and everything. Boy, another good reason to go back to bread.
Well, you're not going to mention the
brand.
Got
to go back to bread.
Yeah, right.
No, it's just that I'm trying it. It's working well, though. I'm doing, I've got a few weeks under my belt here with no bread, and the more it goes on, the less I want to have it. I think it's a good move, to be honest.
So, in other words, you're deciding, and I'm going to do another play on words.
What?
Instead of having the bread of the world, you're taking every day the bread of life.
Hopefully not. That's a good idea.
The bread of life, which is to be like Jesus. In other words, forgive people, move forward in positiveness, realize no matter what happens, God is God. God's given me a wonderful heart of forgiveness. You know that. I know that.
There's no one or nothing I can't forgive that I feel like I can't forgive, because I guess I know how rotten I am myself, so it's easy to forgive everybody else.
I take a slightly different point of view. I know that I'm a fallen person, so I can only forgive in my own mind, which is inferior. So I pass it on to God and say, God, help me to forgive, or first to yourself for all your own personal things, and then for other people. And God does it. So in a sense, I hand it over to God, because I really think that even our own forgiveness in ourselves is inferior to what God can do for us. Just like faith. Faith, we're not the author of our own faith, God is.
Do you remember this past week that Jeff from the Greater Toronto area asked me to ask you about the difference in the solar and lunar calendar and everything? And Jeff, I did ask Bill, Dr. Bill, Daddy B over here, and he wasn't too concerned about the differences in the calendar, but I did ask for you because he wanted you to do a bunch of research on it and everything. And I don't know if you have something to say for Jeff, because he's a real nice sweetie up there. Do you have something to say?
Well, yeah. What they do is they use actually a combination of both, because the primary calendar is lunar, but they reset it based on the solar. Every so many years, on the solar years, they have to reset the lunar calendar so it resets to the right time. Otherwise, your feast days would keep tracking and be changing, so it'll be in a different wrong season.
So we as believers, should we be
it uses both, basically. The Gregorian calendar uses solar, which is incorrect, because you can't really understand the Hebrew feast days. And I think that I call Christian believers should have the, if you want to call it, the Messianic calendar, which would use, but again, like the ancient Hebrews, both the solar reset. That's why every so many years you have to reset. Otherwise, let's say your Passover feast wouldn't be in the spring; it would be moving right into the fall and around the year. In other words, if you didn't have a solar reset, it would not be in the right season. So you have.
That's a good answer. Thank you for that, Bill. Let's see. With Kathleen, she has from Virginia. She went in she had, what's this, chorial disease, something with her cornea disease.
Oh yeah, keratoconus.
That's, And anyway, she's been on our protocol for the past 6 months or whatever. She's back in for her eye appointment. My gosh, Bill, I sound crazy when I say, hey. So she told me right here that her doctor couldn't see that she went from severe to mild.
For keratoconus?
Yeah, and whatever that is.
Keratoconus basically is an inflammatory condition of the cornea, and what it does is it starts to form.
But she said here they're going to do cataract surgery.
Right, they were going to cut out her cornea and actually give her new and do a. Yeah. It's not just cataract surgery; it's actually a cornealectomy, where they have to remove the cornea and do a transplant from a cadaver usually.
Wow.
That's the standard treatment. And what you're doing is you're stopping eye inflammation. So Dr. Babachev in Moscow developed the dimethylcarnosine eye drops for CanC. And,
on the Vision Max.
In the Vision Max, in the Vision Max formula,
I think he had her something for inflammation or something.
Right. And
anyways, Bill?
And I recommend, by the way, in our eye protocol, Silver 100.
Paul, I put through to you this morning.
Right.
Because he had, what was it?
He had atrial tachycardia, and he was having what's called serious
and he was, you know what, he's a professor in Colorado, and he was losing, and he couldn't complete sentences. He's been on what drug?
He was on
that?
amlodipine.
That's just crazy.
Yeah, well,
you take a drug.
If you take amlodipine 5 years and any calcium channel blocker like Calan, you get a 30 to 50 point drop in IQ, and your brain shrinks away on CT scan from your skull. Bad idea.
You're going to have to use different words.
Well, I'm amazed at how much you get. Of course, that's after you filter it all out, too, because a lot of times things are repetitive.
Yeah, well, I try to filter it out, but I don't want to say that I don't read someone's email, because I don't want to. I
read everybody's.
The good, the bad, and the ugly. The ugly.
Like Clint Eastwood, his old movie. That's one of my favorite movies.
Now, let's start with Jim from Minnesota. Dr. Deagle and Michelle, I was wondering what nutraceutical product I would use for PKD, polycystic kidney disease.
We talked about that, remember, earlier in the week, actually. He called in.
So it must be the second email that he sent, because apparently he ordered the Mountain Red and Silver because he said you talked fast. He couldn't figure out what he was supposed to order. Now he's concerned that he ordered something that he, shouldn't have. Was it supposed to be the Mountain Red and the Silver?
Those are two of them, and in fact, I emailed him back the answer to that.
Did you?
Yeah, let me explain what PKD is, polycystic kidney disease.
Okay, in 1 second, I want to finish this. I would like to live out my life with kidneys that God gave me. So, Yeshua, Jesus, God, Holy Spirit. He said, I don't hear you talk about the Holy Spirit much. Maybe because I missed those times, and bless you both. He goes on to say he played pro football. I got to get that in. I love football, don't I, Bill? But wasn't the Broncos, though.
The Church of Football, I guess is what I'm saying.
Football. But no, listen to this. But the important thing about pro football, and I talked to Chris, our son Chris, who's played when he's younger and everything, talks about in these years when Jim was playing, they gave a lot of, he said, Motrin.
Right, Motrin damages your kidneys.
And they give them by the handful, he says here. And of course,
it also destroys your joints. When you take Motrin, it interferes with the glycosaminoglycans, and if you have a genetic tendency toward PKD, which is...
He says genetic there.
Yeah, you have a genetic tendency. It doesn't mean it's proven, just like the same way you have a genetic tendency to cancer.
To cancer, that's correct.
What happens is you accumulate what's called senescent cells in the kidney, and they form a cyst. Mm-hmm. So it's, PKD, polycystic kidney disease. Right. And what you're trying to do is you want to stimulate apoptosis. You want to use things like myco-D2, full vitamin K2, ellagic acid, and malignoblock. Mm-hmm. You want to reduce kidney inflammation with cell defense.
What's the Mountain Red?
That's for regenerating the kidney, and a Silver 100.
And Silver 100.
Silver 100 for regenerating the tissue.
And then what is it that you recommend after that, the top products? Because he doesn't have a whole lot of extra money.
Ellagic acid, these are inexpensive. Ellagic acid, malignoblock, myco-D2.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, and then that's going to help. And if we're retaining kidney function, Vein Away and ultrathymine B1. Vein Away and ultrathymine B1.
Next is Francois. Obviously must be from Quebecois in Canada. Dear Dr. Deagle, your show is a real inspiration to me. I listen to it nearly every day for a couple of years. I value your advice tremendously, and tell me which one of your products will get rid of, here goes kidneys again, kidney stones.
You want to use magnesium. It's common. Magnesium potassium citrate will prevent kidney stones, and if you have uric acid, you need to start off with bio-LVR, and then I would add to that if the uric acid doesn't come down enough, if you have valurate, the best way to tell is do a 24-hour urine and measure the various things and have a pathologist look at it for crystals, so you know if you got calcium oxalate, urate, or whatever forming crystals, or calcium cystine crystals. And if you're having those, then that can give you specifics. But to start off with magnesium potassium citrate, 3 capsules for twice a day at least. Then bio-LVR is to lower uric acid. If that doesn't lower it, then you go add simethyl, superfolate, pyromethyl B12. That's the most common, and that usually will stop kidney stone formation.
I think we did talk about that last week.
A few weeks ago, but it's common, and sometimes things like this are important to repeat them. Hopefully I did it slow enough.
Jean passed her kidney stone going to her daughter's wedding out in New York?
Oh, yeah.
Right in the hospital. She didn't have to pay the bill because it just happened right in the restroom. Because she was, do you remember that?
Yeah.
Jean. Dave and Jean are on the front page of our... they're our friends, and they're also on the front page of NutriMedical.
Yeah, great realtors,
if you're looking for
Dave will be on an hour, too, by the way, in the last segment.
Oh, great. Now, speaking of home here, we've got next email is Brian, and he's from right up the road in San Marcos.
Oh, yes.
Thank you, Michelle. Yes, I gave him the password. I didn't realize you guys were so close to where I live. Is your office actually in Vista? I live in San Marcos. I purchased access to your site initially for the mold sensitivity illness recovery information, but I noticed there's a lot of information on the site as well. I have one copy of whatever that is.
MTHFR. It's basically a gene snip.
And I also have a CBS gene mutation.
Yeah, cysteine beta synthetase, yeah.
And does Dr. Deagle, no, he doesn't. He's talking about patients. No, those days are gone. All our patients are sitting in your chair, or wherever you are, standing, doing water in your garden, listening to us.
Exactly. I train other doctors, and I help them as a consultant. And what I do is I recommend, if you want a doctor, the primary academies you wanted to check, or go to aaemonline.org.
Yes.
For the American Academy of Environmental Medicine.
Yes.
And the second is the American Academy of Advancement in Medicine, ACAM.
Yes.
And the third, of course, is where I actually blog every week for environment, is the American Academy of Anti-Aging Medicine. If you go and search those, you can find a physician that has one or more of those certifications that's in active practice, and I can help you wherever it is in the world. And AEM has doctors in every continent pretty well, except Antarctica. I don't think they have any for the penguins.
Okay. Brian goes on to say, I have some frustrating and elusive symptoms. Some of them have been slowly getting more manageable over time, but overall I'm extremely sensitive to mold, chemicals, most foods, and environmental allergens.
Yeah, remember, I can do a whole special on it, but you can actually cut different nerve bundles in animals where you made them sensitive to mold and allergens in the brain. So there's a neurological component to it. What we do there is we have to eliminate the mold and fungi and pathogens from the body. That we'll use things that have to go through the biofilm, like allicin med, NUTRIMEDICAL, and silver 100, the immunoglobulins, and other things to turn off what's called a Th1 to Th2 cytokine imbalance in the body, and things like Power C plus, cell defense, things to stop free radicals, and cell detox, glutathione, Nutritrala, and Regenerex. And we can achieve it. We can actually have you do blood tests to see what cytokines are in your blood and what mycotoxin antibodies are present at Immunosciences in Beverly Hills, in Los Angeles now. Aristo moved his lab 4 or 5 years ago to Los Angeles from Beverly Hills. So if you drop me an email, I'll give you a quick consult, and if you want a full consult, what you have to do is have a membership. If you don't have one already, get it, buy one, and then you can get your consult answered, and I'll give you more specific questions on what tests to do, what kind of doctors, how to get a local physician to help you as well.
Deborah from Virginia. I hope all is going well with you and your family. I was not able to access the protocols online for autoimmune and diabetes. I thank you for your time and your knowledge medically and spiritually. And if you could seek the Lord and pray over me, I would greatly appreciate it, because I have been battling through prayer and hanging on, but I'm getting weary and not experiencing breakthrough. I've been suffering from the following. I have inherited my mother's side of predisposition for diabetes, and I guess she's been diagnosed with bipolar. That's something that you hear a lot lately, and chronic fatigue, and she's had severe weight gain. She's got a few problems there, Bill. I don't know which one you want to...
Just give me the sheet,
panic attacks,
I'll give you like a quick answer, 1, 2 for each one of those.
Okay.
Just a starter.
What's best for panic attacks? That's another thing she has. She's on this Paxil. What does Paxil do? Is that?
I would recommend 1 scoop each of Brain Mag and Calm Mind 3 times a day, and that'll stop the panic attacks. And we can add plasma.
If you're having a panic...
I remember when I lost my mind. There was something so pleasant about that place. Even your emotions.
And welcome back. And I want to give a very quick 1-2 answer to each of these issues. First thing, you get chronic exhaustion. First thing you got to think about is disturbances in sleep induction. So we recommend melatonin TR and Calm Mind before bed. And for chronic exhaustion, also during the day, you want to take Narival and Cognition Plus Brain Power. For chronic sinus, you want to get a Sonia Pulse and put Nutridyne, probably 12 to 15 drops, and 10 drops of the Alamax liquid. And you want to irrigate 4 times a day. You want to be taking Allicin Med and Nutriodine orally, and the vertical nasal spray is Silver 100. Severe weight gain, she's diabetic basically. Anybody who's overweight is basically pre-diabetic. So you want to follow our diabetic protocol, diabetoline, leptin metabolic, LipoFlush. Okay. And regarding depression, firstly we recommend BioLVR, the Calm Mind and Brain Mag, a scoop of each 3 to 4 times a day. That'll stop the severe mood swings and the bipolar. So that's kind of a starting protocol. What I do is I recommend, I'll give people a quick starter protocol of a couple of things to keep within their budget. And if they want to do more extensive, if they haven't got a membership, get a membership, and I'll give you a more extensive protocol. Hope
Next
that was
is
a quick answer.
Wu Yi from Malaysia.
Oh, yes. He's a very, very good person for asking very good questions.
Dear Michelle and Dr. Deagle, a very, very good day to you guys again. And a word of gratitude to both of you for the tireless work that you are doing. Mrs. Deagle, Malaysia is 16 hours ahead of San Diego. Thank you for that. And And that is, if that's where we are, yeah, we're here.
16 hours, yeah.
And the time zone will be a GMT of +8. Please allow me to pose 2 questions. What is the rationale behind supplementing someone with 1 capsule of vitamin K2 for every 3 capsules of Power C Plus taken?
The combination of ascorbic acid and the salt. We have the only salt form of balance which is neutral pH in the world. There's no other vitamin C ascorbic acid because there's calcium, magnesium, sodium, potassium ascorbate with bioperin. And the vitamin K2 in combination, which is minoquinone 7, induces cell apoptosis and restores the Th1, Th2 cytokines in the body to normal. So if you have cancer or autoimmune conditions or a chronic inflammatory condition, it'll turn it off. So for autoimmune disease and cancer, it's a very powerful stimulant to what's called programmed cell death or DNA repair. And we use that along with ellagic acid and malignant block.
His other question is, what is the best way to determine the level of mercury that someone has in his body? A church member of mine, gentleman 40 years of age, was diagnosed with achalasia. Did I say that right?
Achalasia,
Since year 2000. Of all the questions I asked trying to find out what could be triggering factor for it, I came across this piece of information of his medical history. Since the age of 7, due to his poor dental condition, he's subjected to multiple dental procedures involving the use of amalgams. That's his question.
Well, yeah, mercury amalgams can poison your mitochondria, and the mitochondria in the myenteric plexus of your esophagus can cause achalasia. They can cause problems like cardiomyopathy, heart failure, and they can cause CNS effects on the beta subunit of neurotubulin, so they cut off the dendrites. The best way to determine the total body burden is to use DMPS as a challenge, and then look at the urine and stool. You can use a packed red cell, but unless you challenge it first, the packed red cell won't show it. QRMA will show what's called look
what he said about the QRMA. When he tried using the QRMA, surprisingly, the mercury level was in a normal range.
That means his body's compensating, so that his body's compensating for the toxicity. It's methylating the mercury and getting it out at the rate it's coming out of the tissues, because there's 3 compartments. Free circulating compartment. There's what's called the compartment where it can come out of circulation out of sequestration. Most mercury is so toxic the body will sequester it if you've got a healthy body very quickly. So your QRMA tells you the person's compensating to a level where the mercury is not killing them right now. Now, you don't want to take that person and expose them if you don't have chelating agents like Kilormax, methylating agents like Semethyl, and bioalvear and so on. To infrared light therapy or pulse magnetic field, because they'll dump it. And if they dump it too much, they'll go over their compensating level and you'll see their mercury spike. So where people that don't show they have a positive history of mercury and they haven't done a challenge test like DMPS shown mercury, you put them through infrared light therapy like a sauna, or you put them through a pulse magnetic field or both, and they'll dump like crazy, but it's dangerous. Because if you don't have the buffering agents to grab the mercury when it comes out of the compartments, then you can make yourself very sick, or it can actually kill you.
Isaac from just south of San Francisco, California, Livermore. Greetings, Dr. Deagle. He started the MS multiple sclerosis protocol a month ago. Thus far, I've experienced much more mental clarity. I'm able to respond to people's questions more quickly. My memory is slightly better. My vision is better. I'm having less visual tremors, and I'm having less blurred vision. My bowel and bladder elimination is better, and I'm having less continuous flow when I stop urinating. My balance has improved. I can walk straighter and further without a cane. My energy is still extremely low, and I can hardly get out of bed 3/4 of the time. I'm feeling less heat inside, but not enough decreased, and I have a slightly more energy, though.
Yeah, I'd increase the Narival dosage, which is the acetyltyrosine and Cognition
for
Plus.
Energy?
To two capsules twice a day rather than 1, and the Narival 2 twice a day at least, or 3 times a day. Don't take the Narival after 7 p.m. or you're going to be like the Energizer Bunny.
And, what a nice praise report after 1 month on the MS.
Yeah, that's remarkable. And there's three reasons why it's improving. Number one, we're improving dopaminergic neurotransmitter levels, which are the primary cause of fatigue. That's why they use bromocriptine. The doctors, the neurologists will use bromocriptine, which is a drug to raise dopamine levels, bromocriptine. But Narival is far superior to that, and you can use that along with bioalvear and Semethyl to increase the conversion of neurotransmitters in the brain. And I would recommend Cognition Plus, Brain Power, and Synaptin to raise energy levels. And of course, you're remyelinating with Neurogen and Nutrifos to remyelinate the antisphingalin, which is beta myelin.
Next is Kathy from Colorado. My father, Cletus, had a bypassed heart surgery November the 2nd, 2014, and a heart attack December 2014. It now looks like he might be bleeding internally from, what's that, Brilinta?
Brilinta, yeah. Brilinta is one of these new dangerous and out of their mind blood thinners like Xarelto and Eliquis.
Oh, yeah?
And they don't deal with the individual, what call it polymorphisms of the person's intrinsic and extrinsic blood pathways. I was a consultant for subspecialists in hematology, and actually was referring to one of the top 5 blood analysis laboratories in the United States. One was in Denver. And when you do a proper analysis, and this is, by the way, for knowledge for internists and family doctors that don't know this, you have to measure a number of parameters of bleeding, not only their platelet and their hemoglobin, and platelet levels and their levels of PTINR, but you also have to measure things like factor V Leiden mutation and other factors that can rate the bleeding, like polymorphisms of the factor Va. And what I'm saying is it's complicated, so when they give these drugs, a person can bleed to death. So that's why there's big lawsuits over
the says now he's got borderline anemia.
Right, so he's probably been bleeding. Now what you do, what I tell people after a heart attack is you use a combination of nattokinase and lumbrikinase. So if you're a 120-pound male or 140-pound male, I'd say lumbrikinase 1 twice a day to 3 times a day, and a nattokinase 1 to 2 to 3 times a day. And the way you monitor it, it's a better monitor is to monitor your rheologic blood viscosity. And C-reactive protein is good if you have the high sensitivity, but the better marker is called Pi1, plasminogen activator inhibitor 1. And if you measure Pi1, C-reactive protein, and your blood viscosity, you'll have a better measure than even the PTINR. And it's safe, and you don't need to repeat blood tests as long as those other tests are okay. You don't need to do it like every month.
Okay. And
you get in the proper range, and you'll notice that you won't bleed to death, or you have nasal bleeds, or GI tract bleeds, and so on.
Alicia from New York City. Hello, Dr. Bill. I love your radio show and appreciate the work you and your wife have done for many years. I would like some assistance in getting the right protocol for you for my mother, Cynthia, who's 65 years old, type 1 diabetes, over 20 years ago, and takes insulin.
Right.
So when we come back, Bill, you can put
we can talk about that, yeah,
together
absolutely,
for her.
Yep. A lot of people, including doctors, aren't aware that you want to measure pre-insulin, which is C-peptide. The enzymes then clip it, fold the molecule to form the insulin molecule that locks on the insulin receptor, which has several actions. Insulin works in the sodium-potassium ATPase to pump salt onto your cells and tissues in your body, and also to regulate the GLUT4 transporter, primarily in muscles and other tissues for sugar.
English, Bill. What's the difference between type 1 and
type 1? 2? Your body's attacking the pancreas. You have anti-islet cell antibodies. And if you check the relatives of people who have type 1 diabetes, they also have low-level antibody titers. If you have a physical...
What does that mean?
They have an antibody that can trigger off an autoimmune condition where their T lymphocytes will attack their pancreas. Okay. So I did the research back 25 to 30 years ago with the University of South Florida, where we actually were measuring antibodies in relatives of people with type 1. And I worked with an endocrinologist at the Denver Children's Hospital endocrinology, and we actually found that if you take and use drugs like cyclosporin A, which is a oncology drug, you can actually block when somebody has an acute type 1 diabetes, their pancreatic attack. But we have natural things now that'll do that. So the first thing you want to do is turn off the immune response. So you want to use Immunomax or NutriImmune. A teaspoon of Immunomax and 4 capsules of NutriImmune, or one or the other, twice a day. Power C Plus, you want to be about at least on 30 grams a day with a full vitamin K2 for every 3 of Power C Plus. You want to be taking things to turn off the solid organ inflammation, which is cell defense, 2 caplets 3 times a day, free radical blockers, Nutritrala, cell detox glutathione, and Regenerex. And then once you've stopped the inflammatory reaction, you want to help stimulate regeneration. So Mountain Red Velvet, Myco D2, Silver 100, microdose, and what you'll be doing when you want to, with solid organs, you want to be taking our new form of copper, available as well. But start off with the Minerals Plus Copper, which is copper zinc, and take Nutrifos and Neurogen to regenerate solid organs. And that, along with the Mountain Red Velvet and Collagen Max, you'll start seeing regeneration. You can monitor the blood levels of C-peptide and see it increase, and you'll see the titer of the antibody against the pancreas drop, and then your pancreas will start regenerating, so you can see an improvement.
Holly from Georgia.
Sorry, that's a little technical,
I
but
found out
that's the simplest I can make it, actually.
A little technical?
Well, it's to summarize, you're basically turning off the attack on the pancreas, and you're stimulating the pancreas to regenerate beta cells.
Okay. Let me get to the next question.
But that's the simplest thing I can do, to be honest.
Here, I'm going to cover your mouth.
Well, then I wouldn't be able to talk. I wouldn't be able to.
You from my parents, Bob and Bonnie from Georgia. I was recently diagnosed with hypothyroid disease and tried to go the natural route at first, but still didn't feel well. I started taking the generic Synthroid, 125 micrograms of it for 6 weeks, and I still didn't feel good. I purchased the Leukozyme, and that didn't work. And she tried Shackley, I guess it is, vitamins. That didn't work. Anyway, she goes on and on. She wants to take something that will get to the root of the problem and not just use a medication. And her 11-year-old daughter was just diagnosed also with a TSH of 10.7 and
the first thing you want to do is make sure you're not drinking fluoridated water, because you're replacing iodine for fluoride in your thyroid. Second, you want to be taking mitothyroid, not a synthetic thyroid, because the body can't convert it very easily at all. And I tell people the conventional ones that are available are Armour thyroid, but it has titanium dioxide and cornstarch and polymers. Westroid, which is Western Thyroid Research, has none of those in it, and it's only available from Phoenix, and you have to special order it. But our mitothyroid is superior to that, even, because it has no polymers or anything else, and it has also adrenal and hypothalamus, because there's often hypothalamic problems as well as thyroid. You want to take Nutriodine for an adult up to 10 drops twice a day, and you want to be taking also the other minerals, Vitamineral Max and Minerals Plus, because you need 7 minerals to deiodinate thyroid.
She said her mom has a mitothyroid.
Right, and you want to take 2 mitothyroid in the morning, and maybe take 1 in the afternoon.
Now, what about her 11-year-old daughter?
Basically, she'll take about half the dosage, 1 mitothyroid in the morning, and maybe half of 1 in the afternoon.
And you can open that capsule.
And you can open it up, and you can adjust it. And the best way is to monitor your core body temperature with a gerotherm alcohol thermometer, and measure free T4 and free T3 and free reverse T3. If your doctor won't measure RT3, change doctors, and try to get one from the Academy of Environmental Medicine or Anti-Aging or Advancement in Medicine, because the other knucklehead doctors don't understand thyroid.
Kevin? And
they'll put you in danger, because thyroid disease will cause dementia, heart failure, and turn you diabetic and make you die prematurely.
I'll never get through these questions.
Okay, I'm just trying to get that's a short answer.
Blah, 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 blah. I heard you say that one before. You're repetitive.
Well, you have to for people asking similar questions, because
No, some of it's a little extraneous.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, Kevin. Greetings, Dr. Bill. Now, this is something you'd be interested in, huh? I have an appointment to get amalgam fillings replaced on Thursday morning. The dentist uses BIS GMA resin. What I found out in the web, even on the ADA websites, does not sound good. Their conclusion is the study shows that BIS GMA-based dental restorative materials have the potential to release BPA at a detectable level.
Right.
He wants to know what your
well, they have new resins now that are BPA and fluoride free, because when you use the ultraviolet lights, if it releases fluoride 2,000 parts per million or bisphenol A,
so you mean
it's an endocrine disruptor.
Some people actually got their mercury fillings out, and then they get these in with
or they get
stuff?
Either get a fluoride or they get a bisphenol A a composite put in, and you don't need to do that, because they have non-BPA, non-fluoride releasing composites that are high quality, that'll last longer than the old composites.
And what are they called?
They're just a non-BPA. They're special new composites that are special polymers.
And who has that?
Biological dentists. We want to see dentists through the IAOMT. And there are IAOMT doctors here in America. There's also an IAOMT dentist in Tijuana, Mexico. They don't have, and they are all around the world. But you don't want to see anybody except an IAOMT doctor, and ask them for biocompatibility too, to make sure you don't have any intolerance, because some people are intolerant to things like certain types of posts that are put in their jaw if they're going to do teeth implants. They can do biocompatibility testing with blood tests, which are special labs that I've used for years for biocompatibility, etc.
Next, our dear philanthropist. I suppose you could have no problem saying that word. Try to say it, Bill. Say it.
Philanthropist.
Charles. Hey, Charles from Texas. He says, I do not know if Michelle would like to read this simple question on the air or not.
He's also a comedian, and he asks good questions, sometimes a lot of questions.
That makes me want to read it on the air.
Yeah.
Does breathing the pollen from GMO crops cause brain inflammation?
Yes.
Okay. Does breathing GMO pollen cause autoimmune reactions?
Yes.
Does it make flu-like symptoms?
Yes.
Okay. Is it particularly potent to younger people?
Yes.
Okay, Charles, I guess there you go.
In other words, it's bad.
Yeah.
And some of those pollens will go 20, 40, 60, 100 plus miles. And what happens is also is they attach to radiotoxins from Fukushima or local nuclear reactors, which have tritium, thorium, other isotopes. They make the pollen, whether it's that or other toxic chemicals like diesel fuel, trimethyl anhydrides, or formaldehyde or other things from diesel exhaust or car exhaust. They make them tens of thousands to millions of times more allergenic. So that's why, especially when you have a Santa Ana here in Southern California, or you have a particularly high pollution area in a large city like Sao Paulo, Brazil, or Mexico City, it makes it far more allergenic because they attach. And if you're near a nuclear reactor, the radiotoxins attach to pollens and other allergens, and they make them many, many times more allergenic.
So we used to be near one down there in San Onofre, but it's closed up now.
Well, it's closed up, but it's what's called on shutdown, which means the reactor is actually still boiling away.
Oh, is it still putting out stuff?
Oh, yeah, but it's not going to be nearly as much because it's not a full reactor or thing, because they are not activating all what's called steam turbine tubes. It's a steam turbine tube reactor developed by Hitachi Heavy Industries in Japan. And
okay. Robert from North Carolina?
Yeah.
What are your top products specifically for fat loss? He said he saw LipoFlush, but he's wondering what you would recommend.
Glycemics, dibetaline, and LipoFlush. And to raise your metabolic rate, CoQ10, and I would use probably the mitocarnitine and mitochondrial catalyst. You got to boost up those mitochondria, and that'll help.
Well, thank you, Bill, for being my guest today.
Thank you for being a wonderful host with the most.
Happy Passover, happy Easter.
Hopefully my answers were not too technical. Hour 2 and 3.
They're always technical. I lose you after you say hello. It's sort of gone. Well, but anyways, people, there's a lot of doctors listen. I'm sure they just love it. Anyways, have a great weekend. We love you, and God bless you. Remember, Jesus rose on the third day. Thank God for that He sent His Son for us. And
yep, hour 2 is coming up, and it's open lines. Call in on any topic, anywhere in the world, 800-259-5791.
By now, you heard about Bitcoins, but did you know that over